Well, hello everyone, my name is Zwiggojr and welcome to part 2 of Can You Beat Pokemon Soulsilver without taking any damage. In the last video we went as far as up to the Elite Four and Champion, and today we will be taking on the Kanto region, the Elite Four and Champion rematch, as well as Red. Last time Feraligatr was a big time carry for us, but I don't think this time he will come in handy as much as he did in the Johto part. Well, in the last video I had to grind so much, well, double that, because we're gonna have to grind even more. All of our Pokemon are gonna have to be level 100 to take on Red. The rules are the same as always. I cannot take any damage, and basically everything else is allowed. Except for cheats and glitches and all that, of course. May I remind you that we still have merch available. The link is in the description if you want to check that out. And with that out of the way, let's jump right into Pokemon Soulsilver without taking any damage, part 2. Of course, we just defeated the Pokemon League, so here we are in our mother's house. She tells us that we should go to Professor Elm. He gives us the SS ticket. But before we actually take the boat, we have to get ourselves a new team member. So I go to the Icy Path because I need an Ice-type Pokemon for Red, since it's always hailing there, and there is not really anything else that I can use except for maybe a Politoed, which has Drizzle, but I would rather have an Ice type on my team. And the Swinub line is absolutely perfect. It is also ground type, so it has access to Earthquake, which is an amazing move. It also has a priority move in Ice Shard, which is gonna come in clutch so many times later on. It also has access to Rock Slide and some very other great moves, and its attacking stat is through the roof at a whopping 130. I name it Piggy and I go to my grinding spot, and you saw in last video that I could beat the league without any problems because I did all of the calculations right. So what I'm gonna do here is grind up my Swinub with the EXP share while running through the league and also leveling up my other Pokemon. Yes, this is gonna be a long process, but until my Mamoswine actually reaches the level where he can one-shot Pokemon himself, I'm gonna have to do it this way. It's still the fastest way that I have found, other than maybe training on trainers in Kanto or doing the Victory Road training, but I like the Pokemon League since you also get money! Another thing that I'm gonna do in this playthrough is I'm gonna replace Pidgeot with Lugia, because Pidgeot just isn't that amazing. And Lugia also has the Psychic typing, which is gonna come in handy against so many other opponents, and Pidgeot's normal typing really doesn't do anything for us. The easiest Elite Four member by far is Will, because yeah, I can basically use other Pokemon than just my Feraligatr to take some of his Pokemon down so that they get XP as well. Bruno isn't too bad either, because Lugia can take some of his Pokemon down already with Aeroblast or Extra Sensory. But Karen is a little bit difficult, because Feraligatr has to do most of the work there, which means that he is gonna get the most XP, but he's already way up in the levels. And I'm not going to grind up my Pokemon to level 100 yet, because I still have to take on all of the Kanto gym leaders. The time where I actually have to be level 100 is at the Elite Four and Champion rematch battle, because I want to be sure that I can one-shot everything. And the gym leaders Pokemon in Kanto are around level like 40 to 60, which is not too bad for Pokemon that are like level 70. So I should be able to take them down at least at level 75. So eventually my Piggy evolves into a Piloswine, and you know you have to learn Ancient Power to be able to evolve into a Mamoswine, so I go ahead, go to the Move Free Learner and get myself Ancient Power on Piloswine, level him up one more level, and boom, we have a Mamoswine. Eventually I had to grind up so much more, but at around level 65 I knew that Mamoswine could carry his own weight, and he was able to one-shot almost every single Pokemon that Koga could throw at us. Right now I'm running Ice Shard, Blizzard, Earthquake, and Ancient Power on him, but I will replace Ancient Power eventually for Rock Slide because it's a physical move. Blizzard might also come in handy when I face Red, because there is always a hail up and Blizzard never misses in a hail. Also, did you know that Mamoswine isn't slow at all? It has base 80 speed, which is very good. I thought he was like pretty damn slow, but he's pretty damn fast. One thing that is slow about Mamoswine though is this EXP group, so he will level up slower than normal Pokemon since he's in the slow gaining group. Eventually though, he was able to almost one-shot Lance on his own, except for Gyarados. We always need Electrode for him. And I knew that if we could take on Lance, we would basically be ready for anything that Kanto can throw at us. Except for maybe Blue. After Mamoswine reaches the level that I wanted him to, it's now time to grind up Lugia, which I also did grind up a little bit here and there, but now I'm gonna focus on him way more, taking down Koga and Bruno with him very easily. After running through the Elite Four about 20 more times, I finally have the levels that I want to go into Kanto with. So I head to the harbor and I find Professor Oak. He of course does his little talk. We go on the boat. We have to find a little girl because that's just what you have to do if you want to go to Kanto. She's annoying the captain. He is distracted and drives into an iceberg, and it's Titanic 2.0. Eventually though, we do rescue ourselves by flying off with Lugia and going to Vermilion City. And it's immediately time for our first gym battle against Lieutenant Surge. And I was a little bit afraid because two of his Pokemon had quick attack, first being Raichu and the second being Electabuzz, but with Electabuzz I was not as scared because he had low kick and I'm almost 100% sure he would go for the low kick, so I would outspeed. But with Raichu he somehow didn't go for quick attack and I could just one-shot him with an Earthquake. The next two Pokemon, Electrode and Magneton, were also one-shots because they don't have priority moves, and Sturdy still doesn't work the way it does work in Gen 5. And then Electabuzz came out, it did go for a low kick, I was right, so no quick attack. An Earthquake also takes him out. Last up, one more Electrode, and that is one more Earthquake with our first Kanto badge in the pocket. I'm not doing these gym leaders in order, so next up I'm going to Sabrina, who has Espeon, Alakazam, and Mr. Mime, so it's basically just a worse form of Will of the Elite Four. My Feraligatr absolutely wrecked Will, and there is no difference with Sabrina crunching all of her Pokemon, one-shotting them, and earning my second Kanto badge. The third gym leader I'm gonna take on here is Erica, the Grass-type gym leader, and I have an Ice-type, so it shouldn't really be that much of a problem. Since I do have priority Ice Shard and her first Pokemon Jumpluff is 4 times weak to it, it goes down easily. Next up is the Spaghetti Monster, and I never knew that Spaghetti was so bulky that it could tank a Ice Shard from level 78 Mammoth. But it did, and then it hit me with a Ring Out, so I had to reset. But there's no problem because I'm just going back to Sabrina, running back here. And this time I just go with Lugia's Aeroblast to take out the Tangela, since its special defense isn't as good as its physical defense. After that it's Victory Bell. I go for the Aeroblast once again because I don't want to risk it with Ice Shard anymore. And her last Pokemon, Blossom, also cannot take an absolute Aeroblast to the face. So after blasting her out of her gym, we now have 3 gym badges and it's time for us to head on to the next one. Then of course we have to go to Jasmine next, which is the replacement for Koga in this game. But she is basically a worse version of Koga because she absolutely sucks. And I mean her team. Since her entire team is poison type and nothing on her team has a priority move, I can easily just lead off with Lugia and go for the extra sensory on Crobat, Ariados, Weezing, another Ariados, and then her ace in Venomoth, which also goes down to 1 extra sensory, and with that we have 4 gym badges. This was just not even a challenge. So those were the easy gym leaders. Right now we have to do a little bit of side story before we can take on Misty. With that we go to the power plant and we have to talk to this fat dude over here. We find out that he actually needs a part for his machine, which got stolen by Team Rocket Grunt, so he sends us to Misty's gym. And right there is a actual Team Rocket member who tells us to not tell anyone that we saw him here. I'm guessing it's a private pool or something. But later we find him disturbing a couple which are doing the smooch, and you just don't disturb a couple like that, so we're gonna have to take him on right here. After absolutely beating the crap out of him, he gives us the location of the part, so we go ahead and pick that up. It's all wet because of the gym. We go back to the thick guy with the wet part. He doesn't dry it off or anything, he just lobs it into his machine, which causes it to explode, so rip power plant, no more power for Kanto. We then go to Bill's garden and we see that he's getting on with Misty, which is something very weird. But we disturb them. Misty's like, "You're an ass." And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna challenge you in your gym. And that is exactly what we do. And we start off with Electrode at level 72, while she starts off with her Golduck. I of course go for the Shockwave, which is a one-shot, and then she sends in her Quagsire, which I can't do anything against with my Electrode. So I go into Mamoswine and I go for the Earthquake because that is my strongest move on the team right now and my strongest Pokemon basically. Of course it's gonna one-shot a Quagsire that is so many levels below us, and next up she sends out her Lapras, so I go into Feraligatr and I set up a superpower. And since we are 37 levels above it, it of course is going to one-shot, otherwise I would throw Feraligatr in the garbage. She now only has 1 more Pokemon remaining and I'm 100% sure that Electro can one-shot and outspeed, so I go into him, go for the Shockwave and get another gym badge. That's 5, 3 more to go. We then go to the Pokemon Tower, which has now been turned into the Radio Tower, so we get an upgrade on our Pokegear so that now we can wake up absolute fatty Snorlaxes. So we go to Diglett's cave, wake up the big fatty, and we of course run away because I don't want to risk taking damage. We then travel to Pewter City via Diglett's cave, and we have to fight Mr. Brockhard himself. And since his team consists of not fully evolved rock types like Graveler and Rhyhorn, we can one-shot his first Pokemon with a Surf. Kabutop's special defense isn't as great either, so I go for a Surf once more, and it one-shots. His next two Pokemon are Onix and Rhyhorn, which also both go down to Surfs. I mean, this is just a joke, right? And last up is Omastar, so I finished that thing off with a superpower just to be sure. Then we go through Viridian Forest and I find Buxy, and I forgot that this was a thing, but you can actually rematch all of the gym leaders in the dojo, which is so cool. I forgot about this feature. So basically you can find every single gym leader scattered around Kanto and Johto, and eventually you can all battle them once again in the dojo in Saffron City. I used to do this for hours when I was a kid, just resetting my clock on my DS and fighting all of them. I thought it was so interesting because they had different teams, which is such a cool feature, and I think Game Freak should implement something like this in every game where you can rematch all of the gym leaders. Since Cinnabar Island exploded, we now have to go to the Seafoam Islands in order to challenge Blaine, which is exactly what I'm gonna do. And he has 3 Pokemon, that being Magcargo, Magmar, and Rapidash, but Magcargo and Magmar both go down to Surfs. But for Rapidash, I was a little bit afraid because it had Quick Attack, so I switched into Mamoswine so that it would go for a Fire-type move, and then I can take it out with an Earthquake. With that, we now have 7 gym badges in our arsenal, and it's time for us to head on to Cinnabar Island, talk to Blue, and go to Viridian City to challenge him over there. Blue does have 1 Pokemon with a priority move, which is his Arcanine with extreme speed, and if I do not one-shot Exeggutor, it can set up Trick Room, which is going to be annoying, but I think I should have this without any problems. And of course, after one-shotting his entire team, his Pidgeot is able to survive an Ice Shard from Mamoswine and hitting me with a return, so that causes a reset. Next time there isn't a problem anymore though, since he starts off with Exeggutor, so I lead off with Feraligatr. I go for the Crunch, which one-shots it. Next up is Rhydon, and the only reason he switches in Rhydon is because it has Thunderfang, but that doesn't matter because we outspeed and one-shot Surf. For Machamp, I went into Lugia, and I was kind of afraid that an extra sensory wouldn't one-shot, but I got lucky, I think, because Machamp is pretty bulky, but we did manage to take it down in 1 hit. Gyarados is of course not a problem like always, since I have Electrode on my team with Shockwave. For Arcanine, I went into Feraligatr. I know this was not the best idea, I should have probably gone into Mamoswine instead, but it didn't go for his extreme speed, and I could take it out with a Surf easily. Pidgeot is not going to be able to survive a Blizzard from my Mamoswine because I do not miss and I get the one-shot and my final gym badge. Now there is only one thing left to do before we can take on the Pokemon League and Red, and that is get the HM for Rock Climb from Professor Oak. With that, you get access to Mount Silver, but there is also a downside to this because the Pokemon League has now been upgraded, so every single trainer has better Pokemon. We cannot grind up our juicy mons in there anymore. The best grinding spot for us now is going to be Mount Silver, which is still okay. The Pokemon there give around 1000 to 1500 XP each, which is not too bad. Still though, this took so long. I'm not grinding Pidgeot up though. So Electrode was my first Pokemon to reach level 100, and this took me about 2 to 3 hours. It did help that he was already strong enough to one-shot everything in here, that was no problem, but it was still a tedious task nonetheless. Second one that got to level 100 was Lugia. This took me about 4 hours because he is in a pretty damn slow EXP group, just like Mamoswine. There was an annoying thing with Lugia though, there were Sneasels in this grass, so if I ran into them I had to either kill them with Arrow Blast or run away because I was not risking a Hydro Pump. After that it was time for Feraligatr to reach level 100, but he was already level 92, so this only took me like an hour to do, which is not too long, and he is pretty damn good against everything in this grass. After Feraligatr, it's Mamoswine time. He was around level 80, so it still took me around 3 hours to do Mamoswine, but eventually I did get through it, and I was able to go up to the Pokemon League with a full team of level 100s. I also gave my Pokemon some held items so that they would be better in battle, like I gave my Feraligatr a Sea Incense so if this water type moves would do more damage, my Mamoswine has a Soft Sand, my Lugia has a Twisted Spoon, and Electrode has a Magnet on him. So with all of those items and this team, I went to Will. So immediately he starts off with a Bronzong, which is already very scary because Bronzong is a very bulky Pokemon. And I did do the calculations, and if I did not have my Sea Instance on Feraligatr, Surf wouldn't one-shot, so I had to put it on him in order to one-shot Bronzong. His next two Pokemon are Gardevoir and Jinx, which we can both take down with Crunches. His Thick Pig also goes down with a Crunch, and then Slowbro comes out, so I switch into Electrode and take that thing down. With a Shockwave, since Slowbro is physically bulky and Shockwave is a special attack, so if I would go with Crunch on Feraligatr, it might not one-shot. For Xatu, I just stayed in with Electrode and went for another Shockwave to finish the first Elite Four battle off. I knew that Koga wasn't going to be much of a problem since I have Mamoswine on the team, and I was pretty much right since he starts off with a stinky Skuntank, which of course isn't gonna live an Earthquake. Toxicroak is even less bulky than Skuntank, so that thing is also going down. Venomoth might not be weak to Earthquake, but still it isn't looking too great for the Moth, and we still take it out. Swalot might be the thickest Pokemon on his team, but he definitely isn't gonna survive a big Earthquake from our Mammoth, and then Crobat comes out. I was afraid that Ice Shard wasn't gonna one-shot since it's only 40 base power, but I got lucky and Crobat still goes down in one shot. And last up is Muck, which we can also take down with a single Earthquake. With that, we can now head on to Bruno. And this man is exactly why I have Lugia on the team. He starts off with his Hitmontop just like last time, which does go down to an extra sensory. Then the thickest boy of the entire league, Hariyama, comes out. Still, he is pretty bulky, but can't take an extra sensory either. Machamp is pretty buff, but we saw that Blue's Machamp couldn't take an extra sensory, so this one isn't gonna take one either. Lucario should also not be able to take an extra sensory, so I was right once again. His last two Pokemon, the Hitmonbrothers, Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, cannot take my psychic attacks either, and we can head on to Karen. So Karen starts off with Weavile. I know I could have gone with Ancient Power on Mamoswine, but I just wanted to go for the clean kill with Earthquake, so that's what I did. Next is Houndoom, which also goes down to Earthquake. Absol also goes down to Earthquake. Spiritomb might be pretty bulky, but still goes down to an Earthquake. For Honchkrow, I'm not gonna go for an Earthquake, I'm gonna go for the Ice Shard, which also takes it down, and last is Umbreon, so I switch in Feraligatr, go for the Superpower, which is super effective, and boom. Time for the champion in Lance, the Dragon Master. Lance might be a bit scary because all of his Pokemon are level 70 and above, but still, I had no fears. Since I went in with Mamoswine and he started off with Salamence, we do get hit with the Intimidate, which lowers our attack, but the Ice Shard is still enough to take it down since it's 4 times super effective. For Gyarados, I switch into Electrode, go for the Shockwave, of course always taking it out. Garchomp might be pretty scary on Cynthia's team, but Lance really doesn't know how to use it, so we go for the Ice Shard again, 4 times super effective, Shark down. After that, it's Charizard time, so I go for Feraligatr Surf, taking that thing down in one shot as well. Altaria is a dragon type for some reason, I still don't know why. It doesn't have any dragon type traits, but still, my Mammoth shoots some ice at it and it's dead. And last but not least is his Dragonite at level 75, but my Mamoswine isn't taking any prisoners today. Ice Shard it is, boom, dead. Since we took down Lance, it is now time for the final battle of this challenge, Red. And of course there are a few things that you have to take into consideration. One of them is that there is always a Hail Up. By this point, I had also gotten myself Rock Slide on Mamoswine so that he could maybe take out the Lapras in one shot too. So I didn't really have a strategy at first. I was gonna go ahead and lead off with Mamoswine against Pikachu to one shot that, then he would bring in his Blastoise, so I would go into Lugia and go for the Rain Dance so that he would miss his Blizzard, but that didn't really go as planned. So I tried this. I went in with Mamoswine, I Earthquaked the Pikachu, next up was Blastoise, and I stayed in once again with Mamoswine and went for the Earthquake to see how much damage it would do. And surprisingly, it actually one-shotted the Blastoise. Then Lapras came out, so I went for the Rock Slide, but I forgot that I actually had Soft Sand on my Mamoswine, so Earthquake would do even more damage than Rock Slide, and it survived the Rock Slide. So of course we got hit, but I then tried again. So one-shotting the Pikachu again, one-shotting the Blastoise again, which I still don't know how, and then Lapras somehow also went down to Earthquake. I have no idea how Mamoswine is doing this. Next up is Charizard, so I stay in. I have Rock Slide on Mamoswine, so this is no problem. Easy one-shot as well. But then Venusaur came out, and I went for the Blizzard because it could never miss in the hail anyway, and I thought it's a very powerful move, but Mamoswine's special attack is pretty atrocious, so it didn't one-shot. We of course got hit, and I tried again, but next turn I actually went for Earthquake on the Venusaur. This time it did one-shot. So even though Blizzard is super effective, Earthquake is still doing more damage since my physical attack is just that much better. And last up was Snorlax, and I knew that if Blastoise couldn't tank an Earthquake, Snorlax isn't gonna tank an Earthquake either, and I was right, one-shotting it and winning my battle against Red with only a Mamoswine and not taking any damage in the process. So with that, we have now completed Pokemon Soulsilver without taking any damage. I'm not gonna lie, this was probably one of the hardest challenges I've ever done because of the amount of grinding I had to do, and if I of course got hit, I had to reset up until the last save point. But in the end, Mamoswine was able to carry me over the finish line with his Earthquakes and his Ice Shards, which I really loved, and I really have grown on this Pokemon. I didn't think Mamoswine was that great, but now I kinda really like it. Let me know in the comments down below what you want me to do next as a special challenge. I will still be working on the how fast can you beat challenges as well, which is going to be a separate thing, so we might go from 1 upload to 2 uploads a week if I manage to get enough time on my hands. This was one of the most fun challenges though, so if you want to try it yourself, I highly do not recommend it because it takes too much time. But it's just so satisfying once you can one-shot everything in your path. But this is the end of the road, and I want to thank my Patreon and membership supporters for making these videos possible. Of course, like always, if you want to sign up with the membership or the Patreon, the link is in the description. You get a bunch of nice perks like a Pixelmon server, a special Discord, emotes on YouTube, and fun stuff like that. Don't forget to leave your amazing ideas in the comments down below, and as always people, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. My name is Zwigo, and I'll see you guys next time.